Welcome to the Philip Koerper Show. I'm Philip Koerper. This is episode 26, August 29. Got a great show for you today. Going to talk about the elections that took place yesterday. Really pretty incredible. Talk about Bruce Orr, President Trump's tweets. Talk about the New Mexico jihadists ruling. Talk a little bit about violence in Indonesia. And then really want to end up with talking about Lanny Davis and CNN covering this story is truly remarkable. And this is why we call CNN fake news. First of all, talking about what happened in Arizona, Donald Trump endorsed Ron DeSantis. And so he won, which was amazing. And so this is the Senate race in Florida. The governor race in Florida. And so Rick Scott is running for Senate. He's going after Nelson, I believe, the Democrat. Bill Nelson, I think, or Bob Nelson, something like that. And so this has opened up the governor's seat. Rick Scott is term limited. So this is an open seat, open governor's seat. And so this is turning out to be really an amazing race. So Ron DeSantis was backed by Donald Trump and was really behind in the primary until Donald endorsed him. Truly amazing. And so this is really an exciting race. Donald is tweeting about this. His opponent, the Democrat primary, is a Bernie Sanders-backed Tallahassee mayor, and his name's Andrew Gillum. He's apparently embroiled in some corruption charges in Tallahassee, but the FBI says he is not being really looked at. So anyhow, this will be an exciting race to watch, and to have a Bernie Sanders candidate go up against a Donald Trump candidate, Ron DeSantis. It's interesting that Ocasio-Cortez, she has been talking about Andrew Gillum. She tweeted, "The progressive movement is transforming the country," and he proved that again. Gillum ran on Medicare for all, legalizing marijuana, and abolishing ICE, and more. Okay, so we'll see how we say. Okay, I don't think this guy has a snowball's chance in Florida of winning the governorship in Florida, running for Medicare for all, legalizing marijuana, and abolishing ICE. This socialist party platform, I don't think is very appealing to middle America. Ocasio-Cortez, some of her other candidates lost. So this is really exciting. There's a big turnout, and Ron DeSantis got 590,000 votes against Adam Putnam, his competitor. So it was really cool. Donald tweeted, "Such a fantastic win for Ron DeSantis and the people of the great state of Florida. Ron will be a fantastic governor on to November." I love how Donald Trump has been so involved in these other races. I was just looking at his tweets today. One tweet is about Bruce Orr. One's about consumer confidence is great. Talks about Don McCannon, who is the White House counsel, who's going to be leaving. He talked about Martha McSally, and so Martha McSally was running for the Senate position in Arizona. Okay, so Arizona had two senators. John McCain was a senior senator who passed away, of course, and then Jeff Flake, who was the other senator who went head-to-head with Donald Trump and really lost. It's truly amazing. Went up against Donald, and Jeff Flake used to be such a conservative. I really watched this guy when he ran for the House seat. The guy, we both went to Brigham Young University, both members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'm like, this guy looks really conservative. He came from the Barry Goldwater Conservative Institute. I mean, this guy looked great, totally with libertarian leanings, just like how I am politically. And he was, as a congressman, he said he would only run 2 terms. Well, he ran 3. Okay, so he lied about that, and that was kind of disappointing. Then he ran for the Senate and won, and then turned into a big liberal. Got very liberal, very squishy on many conservative ideas. And so, I mean, it's amazing. And so he had he was going to have a challenger run against him, and you could see how unpopular it was. So he decided not to run for re-election. A huge victory for Trump here, really. And so now this looks really awesome because this Martha McSally looks great. So she's a United States representative in Arizona, and she won, and she's going to go up against the Democrat here. She won against Kelly Ward, who's this doctor who's a state senator, and then, of course, Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio. So anyhow, this is awesome. President Trump tweeted, Martha McSally running the Arizona primary for U.S. Senate was endorsed by rejected Senator Jeff Flake and turned it down. A first. Now Martha, a great U.S. military fighter, jet pilot, and highly respected member of Congress, wins big. Congratulations, and on to November. I love how Donald is so involved. Okay. Remember the days at, the Republican Party when Donald was winning in the primary, they would just distance themselves from him. Paul Ryan would distance himself, even Mitch McConnell a little bit. Now look at Donald. Donald is really a force to be reckoned with, and he's super involved. This is really awesome. And so a lot of these elections, it's not this supposed blue wave of Democrats, it's not materializing. Okay, the Republicans look really strong. Their turnout numbers have been really good. It's pretty exciting. So I think this new party that Donald Trump is forming is a really neat article in the Wall Street Journal yesterday about how Donald Trump and how he's having coattails, and people are talking about him. They're aligning themselves with him. Donald Trump is very popular right now, especially amongst the Republican Party. 90% of Republicans support Donald Trump and what the job he's doing. So he is galvanizing GOP support and really tireless in doing all these rallies and other things, all these tweets, very involved in these midterms. Really wants... he's really trying for the Republicans to hold on to the House and to win more in the Senate. And that's the amazing thing in Florida, because this is a Democrat seat that DeSantis and Gillum are going up against. Okay, this is the sitting senator in Florida, and I can't remember that guy's name. But they're actually trying to go up against him. So this will be interesting. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, it's a little bit confusing. Rick Scott, of course, is going up against that Democrat senator in Florida. Oh, Bob Grant. Yeah, I can't remember his name. I can't find it right now. But anyhow. It should be very exciting, and if the Republicans can beat the senator in Florida, that would be huge, huge, huge. And Donald Trump won Florida, so this is a really good chance for the GOP to pick up another senator in Florida. Very exciting, very exciting. I want to talk about this Bruce Orr thing. I mean, this is extremely frustrating. And Donald Trump is tweeting today, just a few hours ago. I mean, can't believe that this DOJ official, Bruce Orr, is still not fired. The story here is Bruce Orr works for the DOJ. He's really high up in the Department of Justice. And his wife, Nellie, is a Russian specialist, and she works for Fusion GPS, okay? And so then Bruce Orr and Michael Steele are still communicating after the FBI has a fallout with Michael Steele, because Michael Steele, who's the British ex-intelligence officer, Michael Steele worked for Fusion GPS to dig up dirt on Donald Trump, and he's the one who put together this dossier about all of the bad things of Donald Trump and a bunch of weird dirt on him traveling to Russia and stuff, which turned out to be almost entirely false. Okay, and the FBI, the DOJ used this dossier to get a FISA warrant to spy on the Trump campaign in the 2016 election. This is really just unbelievable stuff. Bruce Orr did not ever reveal that he had a wife who was working for Fusion GPS. So Nellie Orr is producing this Michael Steele dossier that Hillary Clinton's campaign is paying for. Bruce Orr sells this thing. And then Bruce Orr and Michael Steele have all these ties. Michael Steele very anti-Trump and using Bruce Orr in the Bob Mueller investigation. Okay, this is really an unbelievable thing. And Donald has every right to be extremely unhappy about this. He tweeted 5 hours ago, "How the heck is Bruce Orr still employed at the Justice Department? Disgraceful witch hunt." So he's really making his point with Bruce Orr. Very frustrating. This whole Bob Mueller thing is very tainted. It doesn't look like Bob Mueller's being fair. As I've said before, the court of public opinion, I think, will side with Donald Trump on this. Definitely. Americans are already tired of this whole investigation. It really does look like they're just going after Republicans. But the amazing thing with this investigation, I think the Democrats totally misplayed that. They played this because when they started the Bob Mueller investigation and people are going to start looking around, they're going to find these seedy people like Bruce Orr and Nellie Orr. So now this is all revealed. If the Democrats didn't push for this big Bob Mueller investigation, we would never know about how the Democrats are heavily involved and how unfair they've been. We wouldn't know about Lisa Page and Peter Strzok and their texts and how anti-Trump they've been as working in the FBI. We wouldn't know about all this Democrat corruption. We wouldn't know about the spy placed inside the Donald Trump campaign that the FBI did. You know, contrast that to the Chinese spy who was working for Senator Feinstein. And we don't even find out about it until recently. And he was gotten rid of about 5 years ago. And he spent years spying for the Chinese on her. I mean, unbelievable. And the FBI told her that there was a spy. So this whole thing is really set up. It's really upsetting. I want to just switch gears just a little bit about some breaking news. A judge dismisses the child abuse charges against 3 jihad cult camp suspects. This is a Breitbart story. This is the guys in New Mexico, and they were training these kids to go in and blow up schools. I mean, this is really incredible story. It's amazing that this judge now, Judge Emilio Chavez, on Wednesday dismissed child abuse charges against 3 defendants. The Taos County District Judge ruled against charging these 3 guys because the defendants failed to receive a preliminary hearing within the 10-day period required by state law. So anyhow, we still have this imagery of these sanctuary cities protecting these illegal immigrants or illegal aliens, I should say, and these people who were accused of training young kids to attack schools. I looked at this Washington Post story of looking back. This is from, I think, let's see here. This is from May of this year, and this story is not getting much traction in the news. We really hear a lot about when Christians are killing Muslims, apparently. But these are Muslims killing Christians. So many Americans are still not aware of Indonesia, which is a major Muslim country, and these church bombings. This is really an amazing story. The 6 suicide bombers from one family, okay, including daughters of ages 12 and 9. They went in, and 2 sons, 18 and 16. They went into 3 separate churches and just blew themselves up. So they all died, and then they wounded over 40 people in these Christian churches. I mean, this is just incredible barbaric behavior. Very, very sad and very underreported in the media. I wanted to talk about finish up with this story about Lanny Davis. Okay, so CNN had this bombshell, breaking news, like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Actually, at the end of July, I think it was. So it's about a month ago. This breaking news. Okay, this was it. Okay, we've got Donald now. We've really got him right now. We've got this undisclosed sources, and they say that Michael Cohen, he's ready now to spill the beans on Donald Trump. Michael Cohen used to be Donald Trump's lawyer and his fix-it man, supposedly. And so now they have this bombshell report that Michael Cohen is spilling the beans, and he is going to tell the world that Donald Trump knew about the Donald Trump Jr. meeting with the Russian lawyer to get dirt on Hillary that no one really even cares about, that turned out to be a real joke. And now Michael Cohen is really going to tell the world about this. So CNN was just going crazy on this. They really thought they had Donald now. Well, it turns out that this story is completely fake news, and CNN will not retract the story. Lanny Davis now has admitted, he's the lawyer for Michael Cohen, he has admitted that this story was made up, okay, completely made up and completely false. And so even the Washington Post and the New York Times, they have published some corrections to this story. But CNN won't do it. At least not when I'm recording this. CNN has not admitted that they got totally faked out on this. Okay, this is incredible. President Trump was tweeting, don't accept stories from anonymous sources, and really, this is true. And this is really how this works out. They come up with these fake stories, this fake news, and they use it against Trump. And then it just blows over, and it turns out to not be true. And that's not big. That's not a big news story. That's not a big news flash. And so this is kind of how they win, and they chip away. I heard today that the news agencies, if you just Google Donald Trump on Google News, I mean 96% of the stories are going to be negative. And they're going to take you to liberal news sources. Like I've said before, news sources are biased. They're going to be biased either way. Okay, I think CNN should admit they have a huge left-leaning bias. Fox News doesn't really admit to having a right bias, but we know they have a right-wing bias. I am on the right. I would prefer to get the news stories that I'm interested in, and Fox News will publish those stories. CNN will not even publish those stories, so I don't even get a chance to read it. I do like going to the dark side, as I say, the CNN, the NPRs. Like President Obama wants us to listen to NPR because we're not, the Fox News people are not even on the same planet. So you can go and get different news biases. But it's amazing that many of these agencies don't even admit to the bias. Okay, people like Breitbart will admit to that bias. So I think that's really, we should admit to a bias. I admit to my bias. I am a right leaning, libertarian-minded Republican who's very supportive of Donald Trump right now. And so my opinions will go along that line, hopefully. But I try to look and find news and research news stories that are true. Many things that are published are not true. And I'm an expert on a few things, like in some anesthesiology articles or articles concerning my church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Those things I know a lot about. And so I read these stories. For example, the stories of using IVs, lethal injection, to kill prisoners. Okay, these drugs are anesthetic drugs. These are drugs I'm very familiar with. Many of them I use on a daily basis. And so a lot of those news stories, I can see discrepancies and errors in those stories because these reporters are not familiar with medicine. And then they'll use experts to quote, and many of these experts are wrong. So be very leery when you read stories about this expert saying this and that. You really need to check those sources to make sure they are speaking the truth. Thank you for listening. I wanted to close with a quote from President David O. McKay, former president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And it's about selfishness. He says, "I know of no better way to bring about harmony in the home, in the neighborhood, in organizations, peace in our country, and in the world than for every man and woman first to eliminate from his or her heart the enemies of harmony and peace, such as hatred, selfishness, greed, animosity, and envy." Please go out and have a great day. I'm Philip Koerper. This is the Philip Koerper Show, copy 2018. Thank you so much.